Hello everyone, and welcome to my Chaos Illusions Chrono Rotation video for 5-man content and fractals. This is my final of 3 videos, being Chaos Chrono, Illusions Chrono, and Solo Chrono. The other videos will be in the description below. This rotation will not be using Time Warp, as Gravity Well and Moa provides us more CC and utility, which is most important in fractals. The rotation is nearly the same as the Illusions rotation for raids, however we do not have the additional boon up times from the other chrono in the opposite subgroup. We choose to take Mimic over Well of Recall to grant us higher uptimes of other boons, such as resistance and stability. That's all the important information out of the way, so let's get into the rotation. We begin the rotation on our offensive weapon set, in this case I'm using Sword. We can shatter before the encounter to grant ourselves boons. We use Phantasmal Swordsman to grant ourselves quickness, Illusionary Leap, we then weapon swap, use Tides of Time into Continuum Split, followed by Signet of Inspiration, Well of Action, and Mimic. We then leave Continuum Split, use Signet of Inspiration, and then Tides of Time again. When our weapon swap is at around 2 seconds cooldown, we use our Well of Action followed by Mimic. We then weapon swap, use our Signet of Inspiration, and then Signet of Inspiration a second time thanks to Mimic. We can use our heal skill here in order to grant ourselves a lesser Chaos Storm and additional boons. We now have a fair bit of downtime. We can shatter during this period to grant ourselves boons ready to share. We use Well of Action as it comes off of cooldown. We then wait until its final pulse. We weapon swap into Tides of Time. We now wait until Signet of Inspiration comes off of cooldown and we use it immediately. We weapon swap immediately off cooldown back onto our offensive weapon set. We can use our heal skill again here to grant ourselves another lesser Chaos Storm. When our weapon swap is at 2 seconds cooldown, we want to use Well of Action, weapon swap, and then use Tides of Time. For this final time round, we will not be using Signet of Inspiration as its cooldown will not line up with Continuum Split. We use this time instead to grant ourselves 3 clones ready for the next step. We weapon swap back into our offensive set off cooldown. If you do not have 3 clones by this step, you can begin the rotation again from the start. If you have 3 clones, you continue like so. We cast Well of Action into Continuum Split, followed by Mimic, weapon swap, Signet of Inspiration, Tides of Time, and then Signet of Inspiration again. We then leave Continuum Split and use Tides of Time again. We now continue the rotation as normal. 2 seconds cooldown on weapon swap, we use Well of Action followed by Mimic, weapon swap, Signet of Inspiration, and then Signet of Inspiration again. Once again we have some downtime, so we can use our shatters to grant ourselves boons ready to share to our allies. We can use our heal skill for a lesser Chaos Storm as usual. Well of Action comes off of cooldown, we cast it and then wait until its final pulse. Just before the final pulse, we swap the shield and then use our Tides of Time. We now wait until our Signet of Inspiration comes off of cooldown and use it immediately. We want to weapon swap back to our offensive weapon set as soon as possible. We can use our heal skill for another lesser Chaos Storm. Remember, for this final time round, we do not use Signet of Inspiration. We use Well of Action, wait until our weapon swap, and then Tides of Time. Do not use Signet of Inspiration here, as its cooldown will not line up with the next Continuum split. And that is it for the solo rotation. That is it for the Chaos Illusions solo Chronomancer for Fractals and 5-man content. This build can keep up 92% quickness and alacrity without the aid of Time Warp or Recall. If you do not require CC in a Fractal, you can always run the old Illusions Dueling rotation and have 100% uptime of alacrity and quickness at the cost of CC and additional boons. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below and I'll try to get back to everyone. Make sure to subscribe for future rotation updates and check out the other updated rotations in the description below.